Hello and welcome to TelecomTV. I'm Martin Warwick and I'm talking with Chris Donley, who is Director of Virtualization and Network Evolution at CableLabs. Chris, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
NFV and SDN, the big things of the moment, NFV in particular. CableLabs positions itself as a thought leader within NFV and within part of the industry that I personally don't deal with that much, which is the cable side of things. So can you begin by telling us what you mean by being a thought leader in cable and why that particular section of the comms industry is different to the others?
CableLabs is an R&D association for the cable industry. We have 57 member cable operators representing over 150 million subscribers worldwide. And CableLabs has been researching SDN and NFV since 2012. And we believe that these technologies will play in to the overall cable space for our operators as part of an overall cloud transformation. We've seen in the compute industry how virtualization and cloud technologies have accelerated the pace of innovation for a number of subscribers around the world, with new services coming out from Netflix and Facebook and startups around Silicon Valley all the time. And we believe that SDN and NFV will allow the cable operators to deploy services at the same pace that we see in the rest of the Silicon Valley area.
Is it inherently more problematical for the cable industry to be able to apply NFV and SDN technologies? Is it more difficult for them to do it would be in, say, a mobile environment or an operator environment?
No, and compared to other wireline telecom providers, for example, the difference between a cable system and a telco system is approximately the last 100 feet. There are some different pieces of equipment in the ecosystem. We have cable modems and cable modem termination systems, CMTSs, that are unique to our industry. But generally speaking, the network topologies and the network components are similar between the different industries. And so at CableLabs, we're focusing in on those elements that are unique to our ecosystem to make sure that we are in line with the broader industry transformation.
What is the remit from your membership? What are they instructing you to do, and how do you go about it as an organization?
Our members have asked us to focus on innovation, to take a 5-year view of the industry transformations and to identify technologies that are coming down the road that will be affecting them and help to position the industry to take advantage of those technologies as they come to fruition. So within the SDN and NFV space, we have been very active within the community. Don Clark on my team chairs the ETSI NFV Network Operators Council, and I am a member of the board of directors of OPNFE and also sit on the Open Daylight Advisory Committee.
I'm glad you mentioned open, because a lot of what I hear, a lot of what I read, a lot of what people talk to me about is the concept of openness. Now, in an operator environment, in a traditional tier 1, tier 2 telco, then you have the infrastructure which is already there, and the industry in general, the operators, the network operators, have been caught up for many, many years in this cycle of buying equipment from the same vendors, round and round in a circle, getting caught up in it and being locked in eventually. Much of NFV has been predicated on getting out of that lock-in situation and having open in many ways. And there's lots and lots of talk about open source, open standards, open ecosystem, and so on. But it seems to me that the one that seems to be in the environment and the organization which seems to have the most cachet and seems to be best situated as a venue within which to discuss what we've just been talking about is the OPNFV. So do you agree with that, and how do you play with them?
We do. we were one of the founding members of OPNFE and hosted the OPNFE inception meeting at our facilities down the road in Sunnyvale. We believe that OPNFE is a great organization for bringing together the service providers and the equipment vendors in a common venue to focus on integrating a number of components in this space. Personally, I believe that the key is in APIs and data models, allowing for network functions to have a common way to request resources from the network and to be provisioned. And I believe that OPNFE is a great vehicle for which to define these APIs and data models. One of the projects that we're developing at CableLabs is a virtualized business CPE. And our focus is on what MEF calls the LSO, the Lifecycle Service Orchestration Layer. And we've developed a set of APIs and data models to instantiate MEF services using the Open Daylight controller. So we plan to bring that into OPNFE as a new project in the next few months to be able to have a standard way of provisioning MEF services on anyone's equipment from a common back office portal.
Do you have proofs of concept out there already?
We do. We are demonstrating a version of this virtual business CPE at the show this week. I gave my team a challenge to develop a prototype in 2 months, and they met it. We have been on a 2-month delivery cycle for virtual CPE. At this point, we've run several iterations, and so the APIs and the data models and the code is more baked and more aligned with the OPNFE release. So it's ready to move forward now.
What about standards? Because everything you're doing, the OPNFE initiative, everything else, and many of the other ones are all taking place within the confines of either emergent standards or existent standards. And those standards aren't going to go away. Some of them are imposed from outside, some of them are self-imposed, and so on. How do you parlay one set of developments and proofs of concept, etc., against the fact that you are subject to standardization?
Well, we're trying to align as much as possible with industry standard groups. So with our virtual business CPE, for example, we have reached out to the Metro Ethernet Forum and are bringing our APIs and data models into MEF, into 4 of their projects. And then MEF has come to us to work with us to bring our prototype into OPNFE.
How do you see developments over the next, can't say much more than a year in this game because it moves so very quickly, but over the next 12 months, what do you expect to happen? What kind of further developments do you think there will be?
I think that this is a great time as OPNFE comes through its first release to bring in our virtual business CPE and other operator use cases that fully define a number of these internet services and use the OPNFE vehicle as a path to the marketplace so that the vendor community can have a set of standardized APIs and data models to build into their products. And then the operator community has the assurance that the network functions that they are building and purchasing and deploying have a common infrastructure on which to operate.
Is release 1 close?
I believe so. And I'll leave that to OPNFE's technical committee to give you the exact dates.
But it's well underway?
It's well underway.
Okay. So looking further, I don't want to jump the gun or anything. I mean, let's get to release 1 before we get to release 2. But once you have the basic building blocks in place, presumably then the next will be moving on to release 2, which would look at how do you develop from the base of release 1, say where you're defining the footings, the foundations of things, and moving on to the superstructure.
Yes, we have aligned our continuous integration environments within CableLabs with the OPNFE tools and Linux Foundation tools. So as release 1 is released, we can bring that into our lab using these automated tools and make sure that we are developing on the latest versions.
Do you find, this is the final question to you, Chris, you have members around the world. Do you find that there are regional and geographical differences of opinion, or differences in approach, or differences in technologies?
The technologies seem to be the same around the world. There are some differences of opinion in terms of the initial use cases that our members are focused on and the exact path for deployment. But we've been hearing from our members around the world strong interest in this technology. And we're aware of a number of our members who are working on this actively in their labs.
Okay, interesting stuff. Chris Donley, thank you very much indeed.